Hello, this is Larry Silverstein, Solution Engineer at Exasol. During this webinar, I will be sharing a presentation and demo of the text AI solution that was presented at our Exasol Experience Customer Conference in Berlin in May of 2025. Here's a photo from our demo booth at Exasol Experience. Torsten, the lead engineer for text AI, is in the foreground. I'm the handsome bloke in the Exasol t-shirt. Of course, no product presentation would be complete without a word from our attorneys. Don't strain your eyes, but here are the highlights. During today's presentation, you will see functionality that is not yet publicly available. Please don't use the presentation for making purchasing decisions about Exasol. And please note that functionality and release dates may change. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go. Here's a roadmap for today's webinar. We'll begin with an introduction to Exasol's AI lab upon which text AI was built. Then we'll discuss why we developed text AI, namely the challenges of working with semi-structured and unstructured data. Next, you'll see a demo of text AI in action, after which we'll peel back the onion a bit so you'll understand how it works. By that point, you'll probably have questions. We heard many of them at the experience event, so I hope the list we've compiled will address ones that you might have thought of. We'll then wrap up and I'll give you a little homework assignment. I'm just kidding about that, but I will make a couple of offers that I hope you will find compelling. Before we get into the meat of the presentation, I'd like you to reflect for a moment and think of a time when you were analyzing data and you wish you could have enhanced it with unstructured data, perhaps from social media to get a sense of sentiment about your company or offering, or maybe from log files to better understand how your internal systems are functioning, or from any of the other sources shown here. Now that you have that in your head, think about how you tried to work with that data. If you did it all, how did you go about it? How much effort did you put into this attempt? And if you tried but gave up, that's okay as well. Working with unstructured data can be hard. That's why we're here today. As mentioned in the introduction, AI Lab is the foundation for text AI. AI Lab is a development environment for building, testing, and implementing AI workloads on Exasol. It is essentially a collection of Jupyter notebooks containing various utilities and third-party integrations. We pre-populated it with sample workflows to get you started. This is the first ingredient of AI Lab. On Exasol, AI workloads run on UDFs, user-defined functions. You can start with our pre-shipped UDFs, for example, for zero-shot classification, or you can create your own UDFs. The foundation of our UDF framework are script language containers, or SLCs. SLCs allow you to import libraries to use in your custom UDFs. You can start with the provided SLC, but AI Lab also enables you to create and upload your own SLC. The second main ingredient for AI workloads is the model. You can train your own model within AI Lab, or you can use existing models. For example, you can use a Hugging Face model for the zero-shot classification. And AI Lab comes with pre-shipped UDFs to upload the model onto your Exasol cluster. At this point, we've explored all the necessary components for your AI workflow. You can build self-contained AI workflows by running your UDF with your uploaded model on source data within the Exasol cluster and deliver AI-driven insights to your stakeholders. Exasol's massively parallel processing, or MPP, architecture intelligently executes queries, including UDFs, leveraging the entire compute power of your Exasol cluster. And Exasol's unique MPP architecture translates into lightning fast and highly scalable query execution, which in turn supercharges your customized AI and ML data workflows. So why did we create the text AI solution? You've probably seen an iceberg analogy like this before, And you're no doubt aware that most organizations operate primarily on structured data that sits in their relational databases. We know that there is so much value and insight in that other 80% in semi and unstructured data sources like text files, PDFs, social media feeds, and so on. But till now, it's just been too hard to clean and convert into structured data. So, how do you turn that treasure trove of data into something that you can analyze without having a team of data engineers doing manual grunt work? Put it another way, wouldn't it be amazing if you could combine the power of your enterprise data warehouse while leveraging the potential of AI in your own secure environment to get at that other 80% of the iceberg? That is exactly what Exasol Text AI will help you do. Text AI is an extension of AI Lab, which uses Gen AI to extract insight from unstructured data. This solution is relevant to many industries and helps early AI adopters implement impactful AI solutions. By packaging this solution, tailoring it to specific vertical use cases, and partnering with implementation experts, we will help accelerate your AI journey. But please note, the solution is not available at the time of this recording, but we are targeting a third quarter 2025 release. Here are a few examples of text AI use cases across three verticals: healthcare, manufacturing, and financial services. The common thread among all three is the variety and volume of unstructured data that is potentially being ignored because of the difficulty of making sense of those sources. Healthcare has medical notes and evaluations, social media content pertaining to practices, and fax versions of structured data. Manufacturers have machine logs, instruction manuals, and CAD diagrams. Financial services companies have customer conversations both via emails and recordings, as well as legal documents, news articles, and reviews. Thinking back to my question at the start, do any of these resonate with you? What other unstructured data do you wish that you could analyze? Before we go to the demo, let's get a sense about what text AI does. This visualization should help. In our example, we have a description from a trouble ticket that contained important data that wasn't available in the structured data. The entire description, known as the document, is I'm having an issue with the GoPro Hero. It's affecting my productivity. Text AI can identify entities, typically nouns. In this case, it's the product GoPro Hero. It can also identify keywords such as productivity. It can also classify topics. One such topic is essentially sentiment. Is this a description of something urgent? Is an issue specified? In this example, one was not. Enough talk. Let's see text AI in action. All right. For our fictitious company, we're using a case management system like Jira. So let me show you a sampling of a few rows of data before we've done any enrichment. There's some important stuff in here. You see the customer name, date of purchase, subject, and you've got this long ticket description. And in that, you've got some valuable nuggets of information. But it's missing some important things like what is the product? Or how urgent is this? Do we need to take immediate action? Well, let's now see how we're going to enrich that data. So now I'm going to go into a Jupyter Notebook. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, just want to kind of give you a flavor. So we're going to scroll down to where the magic happens. So we here define the extractor, and by default, we're going to go grab all those things I talked about before, like the entity, the topic, and the keywords. But if for some reason you don't need all of them, it's as simple as uncommenting them before you run the extractor, and then it simply will ignore that. You can also see here that we are going to create the topics, urgent and not urgent. At that point, you would just go to this section and run it. It's that simple. Now, depending on the size of data, this can take a little time. So we'll skip that since we ran it before the demo. Now, just scrolling down here, I just want to point out like where it says show tables, you can run this, and we're leveraging the Exasol library, which is an easy way for you to interact with Exasol to query the databases. Here, we're simply saying, show me the tables that Text AI populated, and you can see them here. Let's now see what that enriched data looks like. So you saw the tickets before we did any enrichment. Let's now look at what those named entities look like. Run that query. I'm just taking a sampling of about 10 rows, and you might get some nulls, and that's okay. Maybe it wasn't actually in that description. But here you can see things like Canon EOS and Google Nest and so on. It also provides you with an entity type, which can be useful as you analyze your data, let's say in a BI tool, if you want to do things like groupings and aggregations. Let's take a look at the topics that we found, which, as you know from before, are either going to be urgent or not urgent. You'll also notice a topic score. The closer to 1, the more certain the algorithm was in the label that it created. Finally, let's take a quick look at the keyword search, look at a few of them that are created. And you can see that it has created a nice list of different keywords grabbed from each of those documents. All right, so at this point, let's now turn to what an analyst might do with this enriched data. So I'm going to use Tableau for this little demo. So let's first take a look at how many cases we have in our system. And you can see we have over 7,000. Let's look at that over time. And let's see the trend. All right, pretty good. It looks like we're holding steady. In fact, the number of cases is going down. That's kind of a good thing. But let's do some of that enriched data to do a deeper analysis. For example, if we look at the top 5 products by the number of cases, are we going up, going down, staying the same? Let's take a look. So product was something that we enriched, so we'll use that. We're going to look at the top, let's say top 5 by the number of cases. And let's now take a look at that by dropping that on color. All right, so you can see some trends here. So for example, we noticed that with the iPhone, this isn't great. We have over time more and more cases. Maybe there's a product quality issue. So it's this kind of insight that you get from enriching the data. Meanwhile, something like Canon EOS, we're doing better there. It's been decreasing. Now, I just want to mention that this is completely synthetic data. Don't worry about your iPhones. Everything is fine with them. So that's how an analyst might work with the data. But how about somebody who's less technically savvy? They could also make great use of this. Maybe somebody who's working in a call center. So here we've got a case management dashboard, and we're looking at tickets by product, and we're leveraging the product which we enriched, as well as those topics, urgent and not urgent. And like we saw before, iPhone has a lot of them. Let's look at the urgent cases and see what channel those cases are typically coming in. Ooh, a lot of them via email. Let's click and drill there. Now, we're using Exasol here, so worth noting that even with very large data, you can safely do live queries. No need to extract the data, right? All right, so here our analyst now has a nice list of the products that are, the iPhone cases, and they can reach out to those folks and help them and make sure that we get high marks on customer success, customer satisfaction. Okay, so let's just recap what we just saw in this demo. So in our Jupyter Notebook, we saw a peek at how the extractors work. at parsing out the text descriptions. We saw the output of the extractors by running a few queries. And finally, we saw how a business user can use a visual analysis tool like Tableau to leverage the insights contained within the text field in order to take action. So here's a look at the data model that the extractors ultimately populate. We start with the documents, which are then extracted into entities, topics, and keywords. This is the rich, structured data from which you can now gain valuable insights. In this diagram, we are one level deeper at the extraction workflows. We start with a set of SQL queries that takes the source data and populates a documents table. Then, the extractors, which run as UDFs against language models, populate the entities, topics, and keywords tables. As shown during the demo, you have control over which extractors you wish to run. So while we were presenting this demo at the experience event, customers had many questions. Here, I'll review a few along with our responses. Hopefully, they address questions that you might have. Does text AI support PDFs as an input? I spoke earlier about how there's lots of valuable but unstructured data that can be found in PDFs. Text AI won't directly provide support for PDFs when the product is released, but it is something that we plan to provide in a future release. For the time being, you can use other tools to parse out the data and then run it through text AI. Are languages other than English supported? Well, we heard that question a fair amount, especially since our event was in Germany. So our answer is our first release uses English-based models, but text AI can be customized to the language of your choice based on the availability of the model in your target language. On the topic of domains, does text AI use domain-specific models like for healthcare, retail, or manufacturing? Well, the default model is general purpose, but it is very capable. But you can easily swap out the default model for one that is more domain specific. It's possible that your text field can be very large, exceeding Exasol's varchar limit of 200,000 characters. If that's the case, you'll need to split up the document as needed. Can text AI be used for anonymization of PII? While text AI can be used for anonymization of personally identifiable information, we strongly urge you not to attempt this. You would assume the risk of not hiding something that should be hidden. Well, you've made it to the end of the webinar. Here's the homework assignment that I alluded to at the outset, but it's more of a free offer than homework. If you're interested in seeing how Exasol can help you explore your AI use cases, please download and try out the AI Lab at www.exasol.com/exasol-AI. You'll have a choice between using an Amazon machine image, a Docker edition, which can also include a small integrated Exasol database, or a virtual machine image. But if you have a pressing need right now for the text AI solution, feel free to contact us about a pre-release trial of text AI. Contact details are on the next slide. As we conclude, I'd like to say thank you for showing interest in Exasol's text AI offering. It's been my pleasure walking you through this exciting product. If you have any questions or would like to proceed with a trial of the pre-release version of Text AI, please reach out to me or to Madeline Cornelli, our product manager for AI and ML. Thanks again and have a great rest of day. Bye for now.